Welcome to another broadcast of the Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Good morning. Would you like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You got a cutie today. Is she adorable or what? Somebody's going to take her home and make somebody really happy for Christmas, I think. She's a little female stray. When is she available, Jack? Tomorrow, which is Friday, the 15th. So come down to our Lorain County Dog Kennel, get a Christmas present for your family, and I know this one's going to go quick. She's cute. Yeah, everybody. Well, good morning and welcome to our December 14th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. We have appointments this morning.
No. That was just to let you know that CIC was at 8:30 and the Planning Commission's at 3, but no.
Okay.
You want a thought for the day or no?
Okay, our thought for the day. I couldn't find a good one today. It's possible to make a sound argument without making a lot of noise. Not the greatest.
Pretty good.
Not the greatest, but
That's pretty good.
okay.
Under Resolutions, number 1, Job and Family Services Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Question, the requisitions and that we had, was anything changed
No,
from yesterday or Tuesday?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Advances and repayments. I'm not sure. There were none.
I don't think we
None.
had any advance.
Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Commissioners, at the conclusion of our regular board meeting today, I'd like to request an executive session for the express purposes of talking about new hires, ongoing labor negotiations, update you on a potential purchase of real estate, and I think that we still have an update that's necessary in a matter of pending litigation. All permissible subjects under the Sunshine Law. Thank you.
Number 10, approve and enter into existing contracts with political subdivisions or various Lorain County agencies participating in the county's joint self-insured health care plan effective January 1st, 2007 through December 31st, 2009.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. Ms.
Just a
Kowski?
comment. These are, there's a benefit to the various political subdivisions that have been offered by the commissioners over a period of a number of years. And I think it's helpful to the different political subdivisions, and we're pleased to do that.
Ms.
Can I
Kowski?
add a comment for Commissioner Blair?
Sure.
This is the first time in the last decade, maybe 10 years, that we've actually seen a reduction in our experience. The trend in healthcare is running between 8 and 10% in the public sector, and we actually saw a downtrend in our experience because of some structural changes that the board agreed to make that were pretty blind to the participants last year. So our family plan actually went down almost $30 this year. $30 doesn't sound like a lot, but when we were seeing $100 and $125 increases in the plan every year, $30 is significant because you have to add it to the potential increase. So we had a net shift of about $125 to $150 per month, which is going to equate to economies just for the general fund this year of about $500,000 to $600,000. I'm just going to let you know that, and so that you don't anticipate having the same thing next year, because we were dodging a bullet this year. Next week you will have the new medical contracts that we were able to negotiate. We were able to get steep discounts and reductions in our administrative costs, so we're going to get some economies there too. I think we'll save another $200,000 or $300,000. So I'm hoping for a net result with the structural changes that we did, and also the changes in the drug program and the new contracts to save about $1 million for the general fund next year. We're looking for economies everywhere.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve and enter an agreement with Emerge to provide the county's website design services in the amount of $24,730 to be paid from the contract services internet account.
Did we have to do an RFP on this?
No, this would be considered a professional service.
Can we put this on hold until we have a chance to talk about it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Do you want to hold it for the next meeting, or do you want to hold and talk about it
Hold it for the
later?
next meeting.
Under Children and Families Council, number 12, approve the award of $7,500 grant from Ohio Department of Health and approve and enter into research agreement with the Joint Center for Policy Research of Lorain County Community College to promote the increase of useful knowledge relating to Planning Assistance Proposal House Bill 289, which is the annual plan that identifies local interagency effort to increase child well-being in the county, which is effective retroactive to November 2006 through June 2007 at a cost of, which is the grant, $7,500.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Community Development, authorize payment in the amount of $22,299.27 from various accounts to be paid to Lorain County Treasurer in accordance with Maximus Cost Allocation Report.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Under Golden Acres, approve and enter into therapy services agreement with Arbor Rehabilitation and Healthcare Services, Inc., Gates Mills, Ohio, effective January 8, 2007 through January 7, 2008, to provide clinical rehabilitation services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Before you go on, Teresa, I got a question for Mr. Cortez on number 13. We were just in the ICI meeting. Are we required by law to have Maximus come in once a year and let us know what our rents and fees and things should be?
No, we're not required by law. What we do is, if we want to charge back various entities that are permissible under the Ohio Revised Code, we have to have a cost basis to do so. So what Maximus does, each year we contract, and they come in and they look at the cost of our operations and the services that we're providing to, say, Children's Services, MRDD, and they look at rent cost, utility cost, custodial cost, and then they come up with a formula that indicates what it's cost us to house some of those agencies. It's good for the general fund because we recapture some out-of-pocket costs. But I will tell you, not everybody pays us back, and there's been some back and forth between who really needs to pay and who doesn't need to pay. But we do recapture a significant amount of our out-of-pocket expenses for the general fund. That's why we do that every year. And
That was my question. I don't think unless somebody moves from one facility to another, would the rents change that month? Can't we do this every other year and save $23,000?
Let me split my answer in half. I'm talking about the people here in this building and some of our buildings over here. Actually, depending on how much maintenance costs we give them, how much energy costs we use for the year, how much we outlay, some of those costs will change a little bit. But I do agree they're not that significant. But on Job and Family Services, we have to do it annually over at Job and Family Services to be able to cost back to the state and set the rent and reimbursement. And that goes for workforce development and the one-stop. So we have a basis for what we're charging over there. If we did that every 2 years, I'd have to go and take a look and talk to those folks and have them talk to their higher-ups in the state to find out if a cost basis that was every 2 years was acceptable for establishing a lease agreement. I don't have an answer for that right now.
I think we should check into that. I mean, if we can do it every other year, like you said, it's not going to change that much, and that could be a savings for us.
Jim, don't we normally recoup what the cost of the Maximus is through the increases?
Sometimes, Commissioner. Again, some people pay, some people don't. It's well worth our while. We recoup greatly in excess of what the cost of the study is.
Right.
I think Commissioner Kokoski's question was, would it be acceptable to do it every other year? I clearly don't have an answer for that. And I know with the agencies here, we can do that. I don't know about Job and Family Services, some of the other agencies that are paid with, excuse me, with state funds, which are actually federal funds that are channeled through the state. But I can certainly take a look at it. These things are going to be more and more important as we struggle with costs of the general fund.
You know, I have no idea if they can put an escalator clause in if we're going to go 2 years, or...
Actually, it has to be identified real costs, and plus I need to let you know that we're about 2 to 3 years behind on collecting on those, because this is indirect cost, so we get it back after we've already paid it. So most of the costs we're looking at are at least a year old. By the time we get the report and we're collecting, it's almost 2 years old, and sometimes it gets a little more dated depending on when we get paid. So we're always behind on capturing those costs. Clearly, we could also make a move to go to direct reimbursement and contract with some of those agencies that are here directly and get real-time collection. And if the general fund continues to suffer, that's an accounting move that I may recommend to the commissioners, so we get paid twice in the same year, because we get the indirect recapture and then we go to a direct contract. A little bit of accounting maneuvering if we need to do that.
It's a one-year fix.
It's a one-year fix.
It's a one-year fix. After that, you roll right back. So.
Well, sometimes you just need money now.
Warfare, the rents?
Well, we need to be creative, as we know. So I will get an answer to that question for you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Under Job and Family Services, approve and enter into purchase a service agreement with Common Ground Oberlin in the amount not to exceed $43,392 for a Community Awards Program effective January 1st, 2007 through June 30th, 2007, and authorize the Director to execute on behalf of the Board with prosecutor's approval as to form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Authorize various personnel within Job and Families to utilize the various credit card privileges for the year 2007 for the purchase of gas, oil, and emergency motor vehicle repairs for county-owned or leased vehicles not to exceed $3,500, and the Director to also utilize the agency's Visa bank card in the amount not to exceed $3,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Domestic Relations, approve request Lorain County Domestic Relations Court funding the amount of $20,988 from the Juvenile Accountability Block Grant for the continuation of the Merit Project 2 encompassing the court's restitution and school attendance program. CAF's match of $2,333 required from the County General Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Jim, we have this already figured in the budget under our matching money.
17.
Thank you. I was reading the tax law over here. Yes, we do. We have an account for grant matching, and we have enough money to match that grant, Commissioner.
That's what I was asking at the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you.
You could always have all the municipalities do what Amherst did and have their truancy reduced by the curfew from, 8 or 9 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, and parents have to pay $50 if your child is caught out of school without a parent. So that's a pretty good idea.
Did they raise enough money?
They will, I'm sure. It just started.
All those Amherst kids skipping school.
Yeah, not anymore.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Under the engineer, authorize the Ohio Department of Transportation to review the speed zone study prepared by the county engineer and declare a safe and reasonable speed limit from Kipton Nickel Plate Road at 40 miles an hour. This should be State 58, unless you guys want to develop a new state route, to Hollow Road, Pittsfield Township.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Proceed with force account for normal and general maintenance and repair during the year 2007 on county roads for safety of the traveling public.
Is this something that we just do every year?
Yes, it is, Commissioner.
That's
It's
what I
standard
thought.
practice.
Just when they say with force,
We send Mr. Carney out there, and he just...
with a hammer and, okay, so moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Under the prosecutor, approve an additional payment of $7,621.10 for the employment of attorney Charles J. Paluswicz of the law firm of Wickens, Herza, Panza, Cook, and Bastita that provide a legal representation of Judge Mark Bileski in case 06CA009015 in the Supreme Court of Ohio in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 305.14a, and the total cost of this whole expenditure was $27,621.10.
Is there going to be any additional charges after this?
My understanding that there is, Commissioner. That's my understanding currently. I have not seen the bills, but I can tell you that when I reviewed these costs, these were through October, and I thought we had some additional costs that we need to recapture from November. And I'm trying to get a clear picture right now of the depth of these expenditures, but I cannot tell you that this is the end of it. I see what's written here. It says total cost, but I'm not completely sure that's the total cost. I don't know who told, Madam Clerk, who indicated that language to you?
I just took that from the various one that we did previous because it was 20,000. So
Well,
this is just-
I would scratch that language because I believe that that's not completely accurate at this time. Secondly, let me indicate to you that we did apply to the state, to their insurance company for judges, and asked for reimbursement for the representation of Judge Bileski, and we were refused since they said it was not a monetary economic situation, so they were not going to provide insurance coverage for attorney fees. I have taken the liberty on behalf of the board of readdressing that to the prosecutor's office and asking them to make demand for payment from the insurance company, and I received their response to the company yesterday. So we are aggressively pursuing trying to recapture some of these costs from the state. I'm not sure we're going to be successful, but we have an obligation to continue to try, and that's been accomplished. And I will keep you informed once we hear an answer from that insurance company. It could be that we may end up litigating with those folks, too.
That's my understanding that the issue has been resolved.
It is my understanding that the issue has been resolved, that there was a negotiated settlement that both parties found mutually disagreeable, which made it acceptable to both sides.
What about being acceptable to us?
Well, the only thing that needed to be acceptable to you was paying for the attorneys. You didn't have any say in the results
Well,
of the
that was
negotiation.
what wasn't acceptable in the first place.
I
All right,
understand, Commissioner.
I'm not going to make a motion. I'll leave it up to my other two commissioners because
Wait a minute.
we gave them a cap of 20,000, and without even coming to us to say it was going to be more, and this might be even more than the $7,000 over that $20,000 cap. I'm not happy about it.
When we discussed this at the point of issue, I think the board wanted to do it at 10,000, and I indicated I thought that was going to be insufficient, and then you went to 20,000, and I indicated at that point that I thought that would be a starting point for these costs. And Commissioner Kalo was
I'm familiar with attorney fees. I
nodding
know it wasn't
yes.
enough, so.
I do agree that the board did pass a resolution saying that $20,000 was the cap for the first round, but I thought that we understood that that was going to be insufficient.
Well, understood. I didn't think that they could expend dollars without our approval.
You can always
So
mandamus us,
understood.
Commissioner.
Well, that's fine. Okay?
I'll make the motion. See if I get a second or not.
I don't have a second, therefore it dies for lack of a
Dies.
second. Mr. Cortez, your turn.
I don't know how to follow that.
You could try tap dancing.
I do that all the time, Commissioner. We have a number of presentations to make this morning, so I will just remind that I asked for an executive session and yield the mic to counsel. Thank you.
Mr. Saracen, Assistant County Prosecutor.
Yes, I'm Scott Saracen. I'm here for Mr. Innes, who is in depositions today. The county prosecutor has no report at the present time.
Commissioners report.
Well, Tuesday I attended my last solid waste meeting, and it was pretty exciting. And I know it said in the paper that it got heated, and basically the heat was because of how the meeting was run, more so even than the solid waste issues itself. So Ted, being president next year, will get to sit on the board. I don't know if
get it by default. Lori and I are voting.
Yeah, that's right. They're talking about the pay-to-throw program, and I'm not real convinced of it at this point because I don't know what the costs are going to be. What I'd like to see, and I don't know if it's possible or not, to at least get an idea if with the economic muscle that the county has to do a county-wide contract with Allied. I don't know if we can try to arrange something on that order.
Commissioner, that's been something that's been discussed off and on for about a decade, and I think it would be a wonderful initiative to try to begin that dialogue. It will take probably a couple of years to work through that, but we need to get the municipalities thinking more regionally about those issues rather than negotiating individual contacts for their political subdivision. I think there is much economy to be had by getting a regional contract, and I'm surprised that the mayors haven't come together before trying to do that for their individual communities. I'd be more than happy to begin that process on behalf of the board and trying to bring people together to at least begin the initial dialogue and move the issue along. It'll take quite a while. What would be your pleasure?
I'd like to see some contact with Allied to see what kind of rates the county could get as a whole instead of each individual, like the townships. I mean, they're paying a lot more than the cities, and if it could be equal among everybody, I think that would be great.
One of the impediments early on was that because of the density in the urbanized area, it's less costly to provide collection services up in the cities and more costly to provide it in the more rural parts of the county. There was a complaint that there may be some cost shifting from the more rural parts to the more urbanized sectors of the county, and that was an impediment before. But it may be time to go back and revisit this. We keep talking regional, and we need to develop regional initiatives and continue to revisit those and find ways of making them happen. So I'll put something together, and we'll see where we begin. And the worst case is we end up where we are today. So we haven't really wasted time. It'll just sit on the shelf for a while.
Okay. Well, as I pass my policy committee hat to Mr. Kalo, I hope you
I'm busy
go forward
those
with
days.
that. You're busy those days.
Oh. Huh?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Had the opportunity, we had county commission meetings in Columbus this week. Spent 3 days down there. Quite interesting. Had the opportunity to attend some nice sessions, talks about residential TIFs, and speaking with other administrators, especially the township administrators, Mr. Cortez, he had a nice discussion with. General session, they spoke about the new state legislature we have and mandates that between the Democrats and Republicans are going to bring forward. We had a legislative update from your friend Kerry Metzger, Tuscarawas Commissioner, and Mr. Troy was very boisterous through those things, the anti-reformers. Yes, he is. And they also had a very nice session on justice, what it cost, and we were able to have people from the Ohio Supreme Court there, Buckeye Sheriff's Association. So it was quite worthwhile to go down. Also, Franklin County, our state capital's county, I had the opportunity to meet their new county commissioner, Marilyn Brown, who has Lorain County connection. Her family is the Goldberg family from the city of Lorain. And also met Paula Brooks, the president of the board down there. And we also have our Lorain County connection with Mary Jo Kilroy, whose brother Jack Kilroy is an employee of the auditor's office. So it's nice to know Lorain County and Franklin County have a direct line now. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Hey, thank you. Yesterday morning, I attended the commuter rail meeting at Lakewood Hospital's Wassemer Auditorium. This is the West Shore Corridor Regional Rail stakeholders meeting. We keep talking about commuter rail from Cleveland to Lorain and points westward. The meeting was hosted by Lakewood Mayor Tom George and the Lakewood Hospital. It was interesting. Lakewood is a city-owned hospital. It'll be 100 years old next year. They have emerged into a partnership with Cleveland Clinic. And Gary Ebert, Bay Village Law Director, He and the other law directors from the 4 principals affected in the Cuyahoga County area had met the day before with Bill Harris of Norfolk Southern. They're interested in protecting the long-time agreement they have with limiting freight traffic on that corridor. And that is the only agreement of its kind in this area that does not have a termination. They were encouraged by the meeting with Bill Harris. They are interested in quiet zones, and Bill Harris indicated to them that Norfolk Southern has not yet been brought into the fold. We continue to look at funding. There was some mention made of a line item that was put into the existing federal bill by Sherrod Brown. Also, they're looking forward to having an alternative analysis done, which would include environmental impact. Ken Prendergast from All Aboard Ohio facilitated the meeting. This part of it was most interesting. Ed Favor, who is an employee of one of the suburbs, but also a Lakewood School Board member, he had the students from Lakewood High School do a modeling. They identified where they would like the station to be in Lakewood, and it's a piece of property right next to the tracks. It's owned by Norfolk Southern. It will not displace anybody, and the students did a CAD and also a mock of what the station would look like, and they displayed it there. And they even went to Rocky River to review the station there for similarities. So it was very interesting. It was a very interesting meeting, and we continue to move onward. So anybody who was interested in being on the mailing list for these commuter rail meetings, please let me know. We'll add your name to the list. This is their newest little brochure. It's the West Shore Corridor, and of course Lorain Black River Landing Station is on it. And it's a nice piece, like two-sided, and oh, that's great. Thank you, Hal. That's the one side, and this is the other side, and you can have a membership in All Aboard Ohio for a tidy little sum of $25. They'll send you their publications, and they're looking for big things to happen with the new administration in Columbus, and they do have a plan, the Ohio Hub. In fact, it won Senate approval 33-0. So we're moving forward. Thank you.
Just to remind everybody that Tuesday, December 19th is the Commissioners' last board meeting for the year, and then Monday, January 8th is the first meeting of the organizational for the Commissioners. Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Public comment?
Shirley R. Johnson, Oberlin. I have a couple of questions for clarification. On item number 14 on your actions, I'd like to know for whom is this clinical rehabilitation? All the employees of the county or some particular group of people?
Golden Acres.
Pardon?
No, we're going to give all the employees massages.
It's Golden
It's for Golden
Acres.
Acres.
It's a contract for the residents of our Lorain County nursing home, Golden Acres.
Oh, okay, thank you. And then under item number 15, I wish you would explain the last sentence. Authorized director to execute on behalf of the board with prosecutor's approval as to form.
Certainly.
Which director do they mean, and why is it this time with the prosecutor's approval of form, whatever that means?
I can explain both to you. The director, we only have one director of Lorain County Job and Family Services, and that's Mary Lugoski. So she's identified by position, and that's standard practice for us. And as to form, means that the prosecutor's office has reviewed the contract and finds no defects or deficiencies with the contract. They do not sign off saying whether the service should be provided, shouldn't be provided, or whether it's a good service or a bad service. They merely indicate by saying that the form of the contract, the structure of the contract is acceptable under Ohio public requirements, public law requirements.
Then I'd also like to comment on item number 20. I do remember in the same way that Mr. Cordes does that when you gave the amount of $20,000, you had the discussions indicated that you would expect the amount to go up. And I do think that judges deserve legal representations, due process, and so on. And I'm wondering what you expect to happen if you don't, or you could explain to us what will happen if you don't approve the amount that is necessary to pay a lawyer in this case.
I would believe the judges would order us to pay it, Shirley.
I beg your pardon?
I believe the judges will order us to pay it.
Okay, thank you. Which judges?
It would probably be
Through the administrative judge?
The presiding judge would be, and which is Judge Zaleski, will probably call me this afternoon and indicate to me that he won't put me in jail this time, but he'll probably give a docket entry saying we have to pay it if we don't. We'll have discussions on this, I'm sure, and we'll reach some resolution on the issue. But it would have been nice if we had been notified that we were getting ready to exceed the ceiling, so that the board was aware at that point. I don't think anybody disagrees with you with the representation issue. I just think that there was a responsibility to come back to the board when they were reaching the cap and indicate that they needed more funds. I think that's probably what's a little bit disturbing to this board more than all the cost, that that wasn't accomplished.
Okay, thank you.
Sheriff?
You're not going to put me in jail either, are you?
No, sir, no. Morning, Commissioners, everybody. Just wanted to give you some news, though, and Commissioner Cahill, I was in Columbus the last 2 days at some Buckeye State Sheriff's Association meetings, and I don't know if it was brought up about the concerns about the capital improvement jail construction monies.
No, we didn't.
Well, what was told to us was basically that they took it out of the budget, the $75 million, and I am going to get a hold of the current senator and our state rep, and also, I know they backed it, but I guess other ones possibly didn't. But the more disturbing news was the governor wanted to put $20 million at least in the DRC's program for jail construction, and the president of the Senate and the Speaker of the House both said that they didn't think it was needed. They said
Bill Harris and John Husted.
Yes, they said it was a local government problem.
Oh, thank you. Well, we should send them a thank you note.
Yes, and I'm going to send some letters off to that because, as you know, and I believe you feel the same way I do, that the local government problem is that the taxes come from the townships, the villages, the cities, and the county that go to the state, and they need to return some of those monies back here. For them to say that's a local government problem, I think is a very bad statement on their part.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to make you aware of that in the County Commissioners Association, too, because the BSSA is going to fire off some letters towards that. Now, the incoming governor, we are going to attempt to have him possibly put some of that money back into the budget, which I think he would be receptive to. But just wanted to make you aware of that.
And that $75 million was a drop in the bucket with the problem that's in the state. My understanding is that they need about $800 or $900 million to properly address all the county problems within the state of Ohio. So we're not even unique.
You're correct, Administrator. That was for all 88 counties, and you're right. But some is better.
It was a
than
starting
none.
point.
And I applaud Senator Umbrist because I know he asked for all $75 million. But
I thought Draws asked for it first.
Yeah, but I want to make you aware.
Well,
of
he
that.
did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Good morning, sir. If you don't mind, can you state your name and address for the clerks?
Roger Wood, 917 Eastern Heights Boulevard, Elyria, Ohio. I'm a senior citizen. I'll tell you my age, I'm 90.
Well, you certainly don't look 90.
What are you doing, catching flies, Betty?
Yes. Caught 2 of them that time.
All right. What I've come up here for, I propose a 1% sales tax for all the school districts in Lorain County. I've been reading where Medina County had only proposed a 0.5% sales tax for all their schools in Medina County. And with this sales tax, I feel that everybody's going to be paying. And with this, if this passes, then I believe we can do away with the property tax for schools. And it'll be a big relief for the senior citizens. Because right now, I believe that the children will benefit from this, even if they have to sacrifice that 1% sales tax. Right now, I believe, in my own mind, the one that's graduating from high school or the one that's in high school or working, they've got the education, and us senior citizens and the senior citizens are hurting the worst at paying this sales or property tax on their property, and I don't think it's really fair. That's my statement now. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Wood. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me a chance to talk.
Anyone else? We're going to go into our presentation.
They're all here, but they haven't got up, so this is Rubusny's getting up right now. Mr. Rubusny, are you going to come up and say something? Mr. Platt, I'm sorry.
Good morning. My name is Gail Rubusny. I live in Columbia Station on Crocker Road at 26282. I'm here in regards to a neighbor who is damming up and blocking a swell to prevent the natural flow of water. The developer of a street next to our property, Rich Barron, cleaned out the ditches and put in a culvert to allow Mr. Plata to get to his field behind where this swell went. That has been removed. Mr. Plata has not maintained the swell on his property and is experiencing flooding because of his own neglect and chooses to blame others instead of accepting responsibility for what needs to be done. We have had the county engineers, the Lorain County Soil and Water, and the developer back out to look at the problem. Soil and Water has pictures of what is being done. They have made suggestions and offered their assistance, but this issue will not resolve it because Mr. Plata's track record speaks for itself. All indications that he will not willingly comply with any suggestions or plans, and any help that you can give us to get this dam taken down and the swell cleaned out across his property so that the water will flow where it needs to go would be greatly appreciated.
Commissioner, I had conversation with Mr. Carney yesterday concerning this issue, and he indicated to me that there was some vandalism at the site where some of the devices used to control the flow of water and restrictors and so forth had been removed, and he claimed that it was vandalism, and he indicated to me that it was going to be repaired and properly put back into place before the weekend was out to alleviate this problem. There is somebody here from the county engineer's office, but we have looked into the problem. The board did receive a letter, and we did take some action, and this may correct the problem. I don't know if it's going to correct continued behavior. I'm sure that this was, they call it vandalism, but this isn't typical vandalism. If you want to hear from the engineer's office, I believe he does have a representative here.
He does, and Mr. Plata's attorney, I believe, is behind her, so.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, what Jim was speaking to was the retention basin by the Rolling Brook subdivision. There was a restrictor on the outlet pipe that would hold the water back from the subdivision and release at a slower rate. The vandalism was that someone had removed that restrictor. We talked to Mr. Barron that's here today, and he's agreed to assist the county in restoring that restrictor. And I think his plans are to have that restored by the end of the week. So that will limit the amount of flow that's coming from the subdivision and upstream from there, which certainly should help the problem.
It's a record.
My name is Steve Plata Jr. I'm speaking on behalf of my father who had a previous engagement. My address is 26138 Crocker Road, Columbia Station. First of all, I'd like to bring up a couple of points. The issue as far as our track record, if you guys haven't picked up on it after speaking with myself and my neighbors, we have not gotten along for many years. I doubt we will ever get along. Okay, so this is more than just a water issue. This is a matter of two feuding families. Every piece of information given out by every agency, Lorain County Soil and Water, the trustees, etc., clearly states that they do not wish to get involved in neighbors' feuds. I have copies of all this information for you guys that I'd like to give you. Also, as far as the swale is concerned, the swale was initially dug out halfway through my father's property. The inlet to the swale is roughly 3 feet in diameter, and the outlet narrows down to about 6 inches. It's easy to see when you walk it that the ditch stops in the middle of the property, which in turn is flooding out our standing timber. We have roughly 35 acres of standing timber that we've had appraised at about $80,000. If the flooding continues, we're going to lose that timber. It'll die. So we did not do this just to fight with our neighbors. We did this to slow the water that's coming onto our property so that hopefully it can drain as fast as it's coming on. Now, I know you guys have the authority to order the blockage removed, but we are looking to find a peaceful solution to where everyone benefits, us as well as the Rabiesneys. I did find a case, however, where an issue such as this did go before the Ohio Supreme Court, and it stated that the landowner is not prohibited from interfering with the natural flow of surface water to the detriment of others. A possessor of land is legally privileged to make reasonable use of his or her land, even though the flow of water is altered, thereby causing harm to others. I give you guys all the information that I have. We'll gladly work with the county. Our intent is to get the water problem solved so that everyone benefits. We don't want to continue dragging others into this situation, but it seems that it's come to that. Could I give you guys?
Absolutely.
Sure. Council? Here, we'll pass it for you.
Unfortunately, I only got 4.
Oh, here, well,
Well,
I'll
he's
pass
going
it.
to pass it for you. That was the.
And the information is relevant is highlighted.
Thank you.
Is
Oh,
there
what-
someone from Soil and Water here today that wanted to comment on this also?
Nancy
If-
Fanai is here.
If I could bring up one other point, there's a checklist in there given to us by Soil and Water, and one of the listed things is that cooperation, working together with your neighbors. The gentleman from Soil and Water came out, and we were all, my father, myself, and Mrs. Rabiesny had tried to discuss the situation. Mrs. Rabiesny actually shook her cane in my face and came close to striking me. So, I mean, we don't get along. I'm not going to make any secrets about that. So there's more to this at stake than just a little bit of dam. We're trying to protect our property and our assets. We have roughly 2,000 feet of the ditch, and the Rabiesnys have roughly 200 feet. So it's a lot of maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for hearing me and our side. I appreciate it.
Good morning.
Morning, Nancy.
Good morning. I'm Nancy Funai, District Administrator with Lorain Soil and Water. I have letters, I understand you don't have a copy, that was presented from our office to the individuals. Would you like to have a copy of those?
It's in his packet.
You have the packet?
Yes.
Great,
the
okay.
deck.
Wasn't sure, thank you. We are not an enforcement agency. We do recommendations, suggestions, which are strictly voluntary on the discretion of the individual landowners. As far as the neighborhood dispute, Mr. Platt is right. We do not get involved. If it does become tolerant, we do leave. If we need to go back, we will ask for a sheriff escort. However, as far as removing the dam, we did issue in the letter that it would be in best interest to move it to prevent flooding. As far as the retention, our office has been in contact with the engineer's office. It seems like there will be a resolution of everything. We did offer information to Mr. Plata as far as our drainage program, whether he takes the initiative to follow through that. We'd be more than happy to clean the ditch. Otherwise, our office is pretty much removed from this.
Do you agree with Mr. Holtzman that the replacement of the restrictor device will alleviate most of this problem.
It probably would, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And again, my understanding from the engineer's office was that he said by week's end. I thought it was by the end of the weekend that work would be accomplished. And sir, is that correct?
No, that's my understanding.
Well, I'm asking the gentleman right next to you because I guess you're the person that's putting the restrictor back in, right? Who's putting the restrictor?
Mr. Barron.
Mr. Barron.
Mr. Barron's back, Rich Barron.
Hey, Rich, how you doing? Is that going to be accomplished before the weekend's over, sir?
Yes, it's
Okay, so my understanding is that this problem temporarily should be resolved. I would suggest that they probably want to find some method of using an alternative dispute resolution before they start shooting each other out there. But that goes a little bit beyond our authority here.
Thank you very much.
Is there anything else? Thank you.
So is there something that we should do?
I
at
don't
this
think
time?
so. I think we're have to wait and see and make sure this gets resolved on its own.
At this time.
Okay,
Nobody's made a formal request, and I think everything's being done.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we moving on to the presentation now?
Yes.
Okay. Who's coming up first?
I'm not sure. Are you doing incumbent workers first?
Okay, Commissioners, if you bear with us a moment, we'll get set up. We have two presentations, but they're seamless. We just finished them yesterday at 4:30, so they may be a little glitchy, but we have some good news for you, and we'll be ready in about a minute or two here. Thank you.
What's that? Oh.
Good morning, Commissioners. If you're ready, we're ready to make our
We're ready.
presentation.
We're ready.
As you know, the Lorain County Growth Partnership has been up and running for a few months now. I want to recap a little bit about what's been going on with the Growth Partnership and move into a couple initiatives that have been collaboratively accomplished through the partnership. You're going to see and hear from several of our partners in the Lorain County Growth Partnership that came together on these initiatives. But let me recap a few things on the Lorain County Growth Partnership before we move in. The partnership was established by the Lorain County Board of Commissioners in 2006 to focus on assisting business startups and expansion of current businesses. They bring together resource of government, community, education, and business organizations, develop county-wide goals and strategies, and organizes task-specific teams to provide services and support for Lorain County Growth Partnership initiatives. Some of the accomplishments to date is the county's primary economic development organizations have been physically located to the 5th floor of the Lorain County Administration Building, which includes the Lorain County Chamber of Commerce, Lorain County Community Development, Lorain County Community College Training Facility, which is underway. We have discussed that with the board over the last few weeks. There's a lot of progress being made. The college staff has been out here. We've been working on floor plates, and we're currently discussing an MOU so that we have a clear understanding of responsibilities and roles. I'm encouraged that the project is moving forward, and I'm hoping that sometime in the first quarter of next year, we will start doing the build-out and see some significant progress with our partnership with the college on that. Lorain County Solid Waste was one of the first tenants up on the 5th floor. Team Lorain County is up and staffed and running, and we're looking forward to collaborating with them, and we're already working on some projects with them, and you had a very successful event last week. The ancillary offices are being staffed by some of our partners, such as Glide, Team NEO, PSI. As we develop more and more ability to work on projects together, we'll see more staffing in those offices, and we're looking forward to additional resources being developed and provided on the 5th floor. Currently, we staff up on Tuesday mornings with a full complement of resources. We're calling those our team days on Tuesday mornings. That is the time when a lot of networking is accomplished, and or if projects are being worked on together, everybody has the ability to be present at one location. So it's working fairly well. We've had a little bit of fits and start with our starts, but I'm comfortable that we're progressing in the right direction with that. Some additional comments is ongoing communication with partners in business, local government, and service organizations across Lorain County. Development of strategies to meet real project objectives. Development of project teams to move forward with real initiatives. And development of the Lorain County Growth Partnership website to provide information to the public about the organization. Provide a secure, password-protected access to online work groups for real team members to share information and current projects and opportunity. One of the things you're going to hear this morning, and I'm getting ready to pass this presentation because I want to move rapidly through it, we have a lot to present, is about real teams. And Marsha's going to present that to you. You notice the word real is being used a lot in this presentation. And we were looking for something to grab and hold of and demonstrate what's going on in Lorain County. And while we played with the letters several times, you'll see why we ended up with the real team and real emphasis. And with that, I believe it's time for me to pass the presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here representing Dr. Church, who is in Columbus today meeting with Lieutenant Governor-elect Lee Fisher to further advance the higher education agenda, and also in Mr. Fisher's role with the Department of Development and Economic Development to start to lay some groundwork for some of the initiatives that we're working on. So he apologizes for not being here. We have been just absolutely delighted to be part of the planning process and the strategy development that has come together as a result of the Lorain County Growth Partnership. You know, I'm reflecting on, I think it was about a year ago, the unveiling of the concept of the growth partnership that you all had and the vision of what could be accomplished. And I think what you're going to hear throughout this presentation are some of the really exciting forward-moving initiatives that really do speak to the vision that you created in terms of how, when bringing all of the partners together, not only under one roof, as you have done on the 5th floor, but also through the strategy development and also through technology, and we're going to demonstrate some of that for you today. As Jim said, the acronym REAL was really the evolution of looking at what were the 4 primary areas that we were going to be focused on. And those are retention, expansion, attraction, and the 4th one, the L, standing for leadership, because what really has evolved has been through your leadership and then the leadership of all of the partners. It really is, I think, has made such a strong statement, not only for Lorain County, but in some of the work that we have been doing regionally. There is a lot of buzz and talk about all of the right things that are happening in Lorain County as a part of this. The REAL teams really are comprised of individuals who are brought together for specific purposes that would reflect on one of those 4 areas. Some of the primary focuses, it's communication driven, and that probably, if we were to underscore one of the aspects, the open communication to ensure that everyone is on the same page and that we're collaborating and coordinating our efforts is absolutely critical. We are using technology so that it's web-based, so that we have the ability for everyone to view that is part of a team the same type of information, have ongoing postings, and to not have to worry about whether you're present at a meeting or not, but to really deliver anytime, anywhere communications within a team structure. And it's operating at the speed of the internet. It's all in real time. We currently have 6 teams that are operating with different members and leaders, and I think later in the presentation you'll hear from some of those. How do the teams work and how does REAL work? It's the point of entry into the partnership. As we look at a project, it would be assessed in terms of who needs to be part of that. And in terms of the teams, or the membership of the teams, you have certainly the Lorain County Administrator, Jim Cordes, the County Economic Development Department with Ron Twining and his staff members, the Lorain County JVS, the Employment Network, the Workforce Investment Board, and the Community College as some of the members. And then others are brought in dependent upon what is the goal and what are we trying to achieve. Sub-teams can be assigned if it's specific to a particular employer that different resources need to be brought together. And again, we have team leaders that are designated for each of the 6 teams currently that have ongoing communications out to the members to ensure that everyone is on the same page and that we look for really the leveraging of the resources that everyone can bring to the process so that we are refining it, we're being efficient, and we're not duplicating what others are doing. In terms of the website that has been created, and you'll see a demonstration of this, each of the project pages are archived, and then there's the opportunity for it to be threaded. In other words, you can see from one communication to the next what the postings are for each of the projects. What do we have on the web? This is what we would describe as an intranet, which goes through the internet so that it can go through to the public, but the intranet is password protected so that only the team members are able to access the pages and to look at the information, because in many cases it may be something that is either confidential or proprietary until it becomes, until the project has been finalized. Team members will each have their own password. We've worked with the college's web team to create that and put that together for everyone. Everyone gets their password, and then it really becomes a push and pull type of an environment. In other words, it's up to the individual team members. They can go out, access the information, see what's there, but also as information is being updated, we have the opportunity to immediately send notifications or emails to members of a team to say, new information has been posted to the site or whatever. So it should be highly interactive, and that it would have logs of all of the contacts that are made as a part of it. And we are all committed to ensuring that we post the information as we're working on it and when it's available. And with that, I would like to, I'm sorry. Can we go to the website now, Ernie?
Commissioners, well, we're going to demonstrate a page for you with the password protection. As Marcia indicated to you, one of the problems that we encountered early on while we were forming the Lorain County Growth Partnership was communication. Communication was very, very poor between organizations. We all wanted to work together, but we were struggling to communicate. We started doing group emails and trying to keep the communications working that way, but as you well know, everybody gets literally hundreds of emails a week, and archiving that material becomes difficult. One of the things I discussed this morning, and we haven't told the person that's going to be designing further enhancements to the site, is that we're going to put an automatic on those web pages, so when somebody goes in and posts an event that has occurred with one of the companies that we're working on, there's going to be an automatic message sent out to the people alerting them that there's new information available on that company. This way we don't have to worry about them plugging in and checking periodically to see if there's any new information and or getting dropped out of the email list. So they will get an alert that something has occurred, and would they visit that page and update themselves on what's going on with the progress of that company. It seems like really simple concepts here, but I can tell you that right now nobody else is doing it this way. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're simply taking the resources that are out there and we're collecting them into a comprehensive model that will provide good communication across this county and will further enhance getting things done through the Lorain County Growth Partnership. I think we have a page up now. Oh, I have the honor of having my name as the first login. Isn't something bad, is it?
Put something crude in.
Okay, I see Mr. Titilio is preparing for his portion of the...
Now we all know Jim's password.
That's not showing.
Now you can see that we're set up with threads and posts, similar to a lot of the pages you'll see out there. A lot of blog pages use these days. Again, it's not cutting edge technology, but for us it's brand new, and using this technology in a constructive manner that furthers our goals with the Lorain County Growth Partnership is new and exciting for us. I see Shelton is moving around here, and he's going to click through a few things.
Well, the way these individual team sites are set up is there's one for each of the teams. As you can see, when you hover over real projects, the entire site's available to the general public just by going to lcgp.net. However, if you're on one of the real teams, this real projects tab doesn't come up. You'll only see it right now. We only let Jim get into the incumbent worker training team, even though the other teams are already in there. Short description on what the project is. Also discussion boards. So if I want to create a discussion, I can click on here, begin a discussion thread. Running a little slow in here. So if I wanted to start a new thread, I just click on there. It's just like with any other kind of discussion board. Put in the subject, put in your message. On Jim's personal information, he can go in and change that if anytime anyone posts a message on this discussion board, he can get an email, let them know that a discussion, that a new thread has been added or new information has been added. There's also a training team library. You can see Marcia put in a lot of the information on the particular incumbent worker program, the process flow, any kind of training resources documents. These documents can be Word documents, they can be PowerPoints, they can be Excel spreadsheets. Going back to the discussion boards, those two can also not only post discussion information, you can post documents if you want to have a, if you want to refer to a particular document, those can be in here. People who are on these teams have permissions not only to go in, I will just, for example, click on one of the documents. Anyone who's on any of these teams do have permission to go in and access these documents. They can replace the old ones with the new ones. They can add new documents. And there is a record of who on the team has gone in and changed documents, so you can see who did it, who the last document owner was, and what that record is.
Great, thank you, Shelton. Shelton wasn't actually supposed to present this morning, so I'm grateful that he's sitting here being able to do that. Commissioners, before we move on, and I want to move on because I know Mr. Randall is already running late and he has a piece to present. I'm sorry, Bill, we went a little later than I thought.
But you will be, huh?
Do you have any questions, any comments on what you see so far?
Very nice job, team.
Okay, with that, we will move to Mr. DiTilio, and he will begin the second part of our presentation, which is incumbent worker training.
Thank you, Mr. Cordes. Good morning, Commissioners. It's great to be here this morning. A lot of us have been working a lot of hours trying to make sure that we can build a system that is going to effectively move us to the next level of process, especially when it comes to supporting the business community and keeping our economy healthy. You're seeing two different initiatives this morning that are coming out of the Growth Partnership. The Real Teams, I think, is really an exciting mechanism that allows us to do the kind of things that we want to do in the future. And when I talk to you now about the incumbent worker training piece, you'll see that really this incumbent worker training piece was really the first real team for us. It was a work in progress for us as we were trying to design and build real teams. And a lot of the work that's come out of this is really helped us to focus on how the real teams are going to work and what kind of impact they're going to have. One of the important issues I think that we began to understand, and everybody needs to understand, is that we're all working at this from a specific area, and that is to build a healthy local economy for Lorain County. And to do that, there are a number of items that really need to be addressed, but two of them certainly are the fact that our companies need to be globally competitive so that the economy is healthy and they continue to create jobs. And also, our workforce needs to be world-class. And what I mean by that is they need to be trained and upskilled so that the companies that they're working for can compete globally and be able to have an effective process. Over the last 10 to 12 years, we have built a number of collaboratives around workforce and workforce issues because workforce has always been a critical part of how the local economy grows. Back in the mid-90s, we put together a collaboration called the Workforce Institute. That was a collaboration between the college, the JVS, and the Chamber of Commerce that took a look at issues related to the workforce, the existing workforce, and then also took a look at future issues with the workforce and what kind of projects and processes we needed to have in place so that we could keep the future workforce in the right position. The second initiative that we worked on that had to deal with workforce issues was the employment network. This is a collaboration of a number of partners, all of which I think there's about 12, I believe, altogether, that really worked on trying to understand how we could build a system that could work with employers and meet their needs from a hiring standpoint and a training standpoint, and also to work with the employees or the future employees in job opportunities, in job matching, in processes. That process has been in place since the late 90s and early 2000. And then the training network kind of was a piece that was put together simultaneously with the employment network. There really was a collaboration between the college and the JVS, and they got together and they worked really diligently to try to put the processes together that made training a more effective tool for businesses in Lorain County. And this latest effort is with regards to incumbent workers. Incumbent workers are workers who are employed at this present time. We do have and have had money over the past to train dislocated workers, but the real critical issue for a number of us has been how do we train the existing workforce so that they can upskill, so that they can make their companies be more competitive. This morning, we're going to get a chance to take a look at how we're proactively, trying to assist local companies in identifying the needs at the local level, at their incumbent worker level. This training is certainly going to be designed to take a look at helping make companies more competitive. Excuse me. This collaboration started like most of our collaborations with individual organizations, all looking at common issues. But I think because the partnership was in place and that we were looking at designing real teams, that we had a really good opportunity to put in place a group of individuals who really wanted to be involved in this incumbent worker piece that was a critical component for our economy. I really think that with the efforts of what we've been able to do to lobby to get some dollars allocated for incumbent workers, that we're now getting ready to launch a program that I think that will have a different kind of impact on existing companies to give them a better attitude and a better process and a better platform so that they can provide those kind of training needs and have them coordinated through through the partnership. At this point in time, I'd like to pass this presentation on to Vivian Alexander to talk a little bit about the incumbent worker training services part of the process.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Vivian.
First, before I get started, I would like to say that this has been a great opportunity for me to sit around the table with some talented individuals that have a wealth of knowledge, and I think the county should be thankful to have such great assets that really know what works and what doesn't work. And I find myself to be one that is learning quite a bit from these individuals. So please bear with me as I go through this slide presentation for you. Okay. The guidelines and process. This incumbent worker training is funded by the Workforce Investment Act. In March, the Department of Labor passed a waiver to allow us to take adult and dislocated workers to fund the training. And I think that this is going to be a great opportunity. And during this process, we decided to target companies that had employees either from 1 to 300 employees. And the company proposals will identify how their training will facilitate the company's growth strategy. So the process actually started and came down around the spring of this year. And next you have the business requirements. We came up with some guidelines that will allow that the companies must be a for-profit business and must have been in the operation of Lorain County for at least a minimum of 1 year. And they may not have no more than 300 employees. We chose not to exceed that number. They must demonstrate a financial viability and must be current on all state taxes. And these were just guidelines that we were trying to put in place that would give us a way to kind of gauge and judge how we were going to view the companies. And they must contribute 50% of the cost in order to receive incumbent worker dollars. And that can be done either way, in cash or in kind. That's something that we weren't expecting, but it's something that we do have to follow suit on. And then the next one, and priority is going to be given to businesses with, just please bear with me. I'm not going to read everything. I just kind of tried to break it down a little bit for you. Some of it is self-explanatory, but we want to help companies accelerate growth. I mean, that's what it's really designed for. It wouldn't benefit if we weren't trying to get outcomes like that. We want to encourage bringing new money into Lorain County. And in review of national and statewide economic development, for the last bullet on here that you'll see regarding the businesses that meet the definitions of emerging technology, in review of national and statewide economic development initiatives, most are focused around these clusters. Next, please. And regarding the training services, we are looking at, when we're talking about can be provided through public or private educational institutions, we're looking at such places as Lorain County Community College, the JVS, EHOBE, or some private vendors. So there's just a host that I can name. Those are just a few that I did name. And for private post-secondary institutions, we just, going through the review process, we just want to make sure that what they put before us, that they're going to spend the money like they've stated that they want to do it. So that's going to be part of the process. Next, please. And for the awards, we may find all the applications will be evaluated to leverage other state funding. There's probably other state funding that's available. We may find some companies that, after going through a review process, the incumbent worker training may not be what works for their company. So there may be another training process that we'll put in place that will actually work for the company. So there are some federal and state dollars out there that may help to offset that if the incumbent worker training is not what their company does need. And businesses approved for funding enter into a contract. That's just kind of standard language, for the final process of how the contract's going to be awarded. And I believe that's all I have to present, and I do thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to Jan Rabarczyk, the Director of Employment Network.
Good morning. As Vivian talked about in her presentation, there were some guidelines and activities that we had to come up with, one consistent with the legislation, one consistent with state regulations, and also consistent with some of the decisions that we wanted to do locally. But I think it's really critical when you look at this next set that, which is the process, that we've tried to make it as painless as possible for the employers in terms of them accessing the resources that are out there. So we start this at the bottom of the slide that's there, called employer outreach. And as we discussed earlier, in order to pilot this, what we're going to do is really have some conversations about companies that we can target that have that growth potential, companies who would truly benefit from training that would kind of tip them over to that higher growth level. And so there will be a group of people who we call the leadership team who will actually go out and meet with those employers and talk to them about this new process or this new program. That leadership really will be representatives of the growth partnership as well as representatives from the private sector who can get access to some of the employers that are out there relatively quickly. One of the things we really, the way we're looking at this is that we're trying to pilot this activity between January 1st and the end of June to help refine the process, to make sure that the kinds of things we're asking of businesses are realistic and that we have things in place. So there will be some target employers for that pilot process, although I believe it's the commitment of the team that any business out there who has been able to find out about this, who have these needs, can also be talked to once we get through kind of some of those growing pains that we have with any new process. Once the outreach has occurred, a consulting team will actually be sent out if a business is interested in pursuing the conversation. And we talked a lot about this in the design to say that a lot of times businesses don't have the resources to stop work and really think strategically about their longer-term plans. And so, again, in order to try to facilitate companies making good decisions about the kinds of training that are out there or the resources that are available to them, we will actually send out a team of folks who are really experts in these areas, people who understand human resource processes, people who understand training and the role that it plays in a company, people who can be very realistic with businesses about the commitment it's going to take in order to be successful to integrate the training into their organizations. And so that consulting team will go out then and follow up with an employer to really do that need assessment. As somebody who's done a lot of work with the private sector, a lot of times what we see is that the need is articulated one way. I need to train my workers, but the reality is that there's a lot of other things around that also we can access in terms of resources. So we may go in and do a training program, and we had this experience actually with one of the real companies that we've been working with over the last couple of months. The employer really identified the need for some training, but the more we talked, we also understood that they had no infrastructure for hiring. They didn't have proper steps. They didn't have job descriptions that really were accurately reflecting the need that the company had. And so, not stopping and saying, oh, we're going to just do this training, we said, here are all the resources that are available in the county. Here's how you can take advantage of the expertise that exists in terms of assessment that the JVS had. Here's how you can take advantage of the resources that the college can have in terms of the specific training program. And here's how the Employment Network can help you recruit and screen candidates that you can ultimately hire. So we wanted to be really clear that that consulting team will actually sit down, do some need identification, and then draft a plan that takes advantage of all of the resources that are out here in terms of workforce development, and also make that connection to economic development. What we might also find is that the company could be in a situation where getting access to funds to help expand their building or relocate in that community would be a good thing. Once that plan is drafted, the team will then go back and sit with the employer and appropriate labor representatives, if that's the case. I think that when you look at models of this activity across the country, what you see is that if organized labor is in place in the facility, it's critical that there's a partnership and agreement upon how the training will be integrated into the workplace. If not, it's also important that the employees understand that the activities that are being done are really being done in the best interest of the company's growth, but also long-term employment for the people that are working there. So it's the intention of this design that we work very closely with management and employees to make sure that they're clear about the kinds of activities that will go on. And then from there, we'll do that last final screen, that collection of documentation. Again, with anything, as some of the slides that Vivian showed you, there are requirements in terms of information we have to collect. We have to verify that the business is viable, that it's current on its taxes and all those kinds of things. And so we'll have to do some of that as painlessly as possible, trying to collect as much of the information as we can without being invasive in terms of the company's private business. But really we're required to do that kind of activity. And then finally, that plan will be presented back to that leadership team, that original group of people, to have them kind of do the due diligence on it. Is this a legitimate plan? Is it really part of something that will help advance the county's agenda? Have all the T's and I's been crossed so that when it moves from back then to the Workforce Investment Board and ultimately to you, that you could be confident that the questions have been asked? Not to say you can't ask questions, but to say that folks have really done due diligence to say this is a good investment of these very scarce resources on behalf of the company, and ultimately should lead to some really positive and exciting things for the county. So if you look at the process, I think the first thing that Mr. Cordes said, and I think Mr. DiTilio said the same thing in the design, is like, how long is this going to take? And it's not designed to take a long time. It's designed to make sure that the company has good dialogue with people who can help diagnose the situations, that we, as the team of people who are putting together those original plans, really listen to the company and respond to what they're saying, and then give them a chance to review the plan and say, yes, this will help meet our needs. These are the pieces that we're interested. Here are the things that we want changed in that plan. And then the process then would go to the Workforce Investment Board as well as the commissioners, which is how that relationship needs to work. The Workforce Investment Board, because they're on your behalf overseeing that money on a day-to-day basis, ultimately then coming it back to you. So while it looks like lots of steps, I think it really is a very fluid kind of activity. We could be working with more than one company at a time. And I think it's a way for us to kind of lay out what companies can expect when they say, yes, we might be interested in this, or kind of read about it or hear about it and say, this is something we want to take advantage of. As with anything, the most important thing that a lot of people will talk about is, what are the outcomes? What are the things that you want to see happen when it comes to this? And so we really have spent some time with developing some of those tangible measures that we have to, as well as some of those other kinds of measures that will ultimately contribute to the overall success of this program. And so I'm going to turn the program over to Bill Randall, the superintendent at the JVS.
Good morning and happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you, Bill.
Mr. Cordes and I are appropriately attired, and he's got my tie on. Well, they left the educator to talk about expectations and outcomes. I guess those are big words and hot topics in the education field today. Actually, to have a process and know whether you're effective, you have to start with a set of expectations and outcomes, to measure your success. And so we really have four groups that will be looking at us. We'll be looking at ourselves in relation to these various groups, as I would call them, to see if we're meeting expectations, whether we're meeting our outcomes. And obviously, one is the state, because there's state money involved because of the WIA, and the state always has. We always have to meet hold our feet to the fire for some performance measures in about anything we do. And some of those measures are the retention of workers that are trained to stay in the workforce and with the company, hopefully, that they're trained with. Skills, that's fairly measurable. Obviously, that's a measurable objective. Skills upgrade, a little harder to measure, but certainly through the credentials that are issued by the institutions that would do the training, we would have a measure there. Wage increase, hopefully that the people that are trained and have a higher degree of skills, a higher level of skills, and more skills would receive additional pay. And of course, we have to track the failures too, the non-positives. Unfortunately, nobody's perfect and no program is perfect, so we'll have to hopefully have the successes outweigh by manyfold the non-positive outcomes that we might have. The other, the second group would be the employer-employee outcomes. And I think it's important to note, and I think you've seen this thread through the whole process, and Jan alluded to it, and I'll speak a little more to it about it, that this has to be customer-driven. This has to be what the company needs. And Jan spoke very well to that. We can't package product and go out and take it and peddle it. It has to be their product. I did this for about 21 years in another JVS district as the adult ed director, and I've had many conversations with people. You have to do what they need, and you have to do a very strong analysis, because probably all they can tell you about their training needs is what the symptoms are. And the symptoms may not be reflective of the real problems they have. So this has to be a customer-driven process. And it has to be both the employers and the employees of the company generally who help drive the process. So, especially where there's organized labor involved. The organization has to be on board with the training, or it will not work. So it is I would say, a user-defined process. We've got computer people here, user-defined. And the identified needs have to come from that group. The third group that has expectations of what we're going to be doing is the workforce and economic development system. You know, we have to try to have a strategic alignment of the economic and workforce development resources. We have to put everybody in the picture that needs to be in the picture for a particular process. And you know, obviously we spoke to that, we have to be proactive. The fourth group is the community. And I think on the slides you'll see under community, more competitive, obviously a more competitive workforce is a huge outcome there. And that plays into the retention, the expansion, all the things that the real team needs to do. So, you know, if you can go out and brag what a great workforce we have, and we can prove it by the high level of training they have, and you see it in their performance, and we can do more, that certainly is good for the community. But in my experiences, I see even a few additional things that I editorialized here. If you'll excuse me, I spent a long time working in this area. I think one of the things that you will see in the community is more worker loyalty. If you invest in me, I'm going to have more respect for you and be more dedicated and more likely to stay with a company. That's part of that hierarchy of needs. People want to feel loved, and I guess if you train me and make me better, it shows a little of that love. I think it also sets a tone in our community that you know how things, you know, the hallway conversations, well, we're doing this and we're doing that. You know, I hear it in my profession quite often. You hear it. Ted, you were just at a big meeting. You probably did as much by having somebody by the buttonhole in the hallway as you did in the big meetings. That I think this success of companies doing this will breed success. That other companies will want to upgrade their workforce. Potential employees will see that companies invest in their workers, and we'll be able to attract the best employees to our companies. And potential employers will look at a community that does this for their employers and works hard to accomplish these things to upgrade the workforce, and will be more interested in Lorain County if these things happen. We have two wonderful institutions that can do this work, so it's important to recognize that. And I think another thing that it does is it builds worker self-esteem. I'm sure that Marcia sees this at the college. We see it at the JVS, that sometimes some people have had a hard time in school. And if in a different setting, in a different set of circumstances, they can succeed with education and training, that they'll want more. And they'll be able to climb that career ladder through a company and really elevate themselves and the company productivity-wise, their ability to take on additional tasks or whatever it may be. That self-esteem is a big piece. People believe they can't do it, they won't. People believe they can, will. So thank you for the opportunity this morning. I think this is a great effort that we have, and I'm going to turn it over to the man with my tie on, Mr. Cortez. We get together and decide which day we're going to wear which Christmas tie, so here he is.
We almost wore the same one the night of the event. It's a good thing I saw you that morning at a different meeting. People would have been talking. Commissioners, we're going to pull up a piece here that we're going to be using to demonstrate the program. I'm going to provide you a couple copies here. I think I gave you a book with these in there. One of the things we wanted to demonstrate at this point was that all of this information is web-based. Everything that we do right now, we're trying to make it web-based so it's easy for the companies to work on it. This is the piece that we put together with the current training that's available so that we could deliver something quickly into the workplace. I will indicate to you that this is an evolving process, that it will become more complicated as we find out what the needs of the companies are going to be more fully. But these are services that are easily deliverable right now through our current partnerships with JVS and Lorain Community College. The program definitely will be able to be used for other types of trainings, but we felt it essential that we get something going now and get the program moving now, especially since some of our dollars are critical that have to be spent before the end of June. So we needed to get a program on the street to do that, and we're still waiting on some additional dollars. I believe that we have an initial $166,000 to start with a 50% in-kind or direct dollar match. You can see we have $320,000, $325,000 towards the program. We're hoping for another 275, up to 500. I'm waddling Ms. Alexander as we speak here. So if we got another $500,000 and there's a 50% match, we have $1 million program. So there is a lot at stake here for this program, and success is going to be critical because we're being watched very closely, and we can set the tempo and the pace and be the role model for development of these type programs. And here is the piece up here, and I don't know if Marcia has anything to add on that.
And you have copies of it, but this is just, we wanted to put on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper something very succinct that would provide the employer with an overview of the types of opportunities. However, as Bill Randall indicated, it would be very customized to whatever that specific need is for that employer. But we wanted to have something to at least present to them, and that reflects the entire growth partnership and the support of the county and the partners, and what some of the opportunities for training and education are.
Rod?
Good morning, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to wrap up this session this morning, so we are nearing the end. It certainly has been my pleasure on your behalf to work with all of these people on these two initiatives that we're announcing today. And as we wrap up today's presentation, I'd like to state a few facts. They're on the screen right now. Ohio has certainly in the last 10, 15 years been known nationwide as a battleground state. It's actually been known that for quite some time longer, but it's really gotten legs in the last 10 or 15 years. Often I think our residents understand that being a battleground state means we're wounded and scarred. Some would actually believe that we're mortally wounded. I don't think that's the case, and I want to take just a few seconds to point some of the points out that we have here. If you look at the metropolitan statistical areas that the federal government uses, we are now part of the Cleveland, Akron, Elyria, and Lorain CMSA. That is the 16th largest population center, employment center in the nation. Right ahead of us is St. Pete, St. Paul is behind us in Minnesota, and right directly ahead of us is Mesa, Phoenix in Arizona. So you can see population-wise, that's an important thing that we shouldn't lose sight of in our region of Northeast Ohio. Take that and realize that Ohio is the 7th most populated state in this nation, and that between the 1990 and 2000 population numbers, we heard how everything was deplorable and we were losing population and all of that. We still were the 9th largest state in the nation. So we were growing faster than everybody but 8. Lorain County, certainly as a county itself within this 7th most populated area, we have, as a county, we're the 9th largest population center of the state. We end up with the 25th geographic largest area in the state. Housing units, we are number 10 with 111,000 housing units. And we also end up number 11 with the density of housing units in the state of Ohio. So we're in a very populated state with a state that is larger than certainly most in the country, and we shouldn't lose sight of that as we see the decline. I think we have an openness here in Lorain County to talk about what's happening, what trends are, both good and bad, and that ends up getting lost in the shuffle. We do have a growing economy. There are some sectors clearly that have declined and will likely continue to decline more because of the world marketplace that we've worked in. The county as a whole, and certainly the Board of County Commissioners, have been very proactive in recent years, creating everything from this partnership, going back to Glide and the Workforce Investment Board, and even the college with the Entrepreneurial Center. All have been an effort to keep Lorain County focused on what is really important and allows companies to grow within this region and in the world market. Next, we want to talk about what makes Lorain County and what will continue to make Lorain County important, and why the real team and the incumbent worker portion is so critical. There are three things that make for a healthy economy, and I don't care where you're at in the world, those three things still exist. You either make it, you grow it, or you mine it. We make things very well here in Lorain County. We grow things extremely well. Agriculture in the county is a $94 million operation, so we should know that we make things very well and that we grow things very well. The two initiatives you heard today show a cooperation between the private sector, educational segments of the county, and government collaborating to make Lorain County a formidable force to be dealt with. Our true purpose of these programs and several others is to make businesses successful and profitable. Government itself, again, we don't create jobs from my office. We provide incentives for the private sector to create the jobs, and that's an important thing that also sometimes get lost. One thing that we've done and will continue to do, we had a very, very successful December 6th showcase event where we selectively invited in companies to come to the the fifth floor to see what we were doing up there, to begin slowly to educating the public and the business community on the potential. Events like what we're holding today will get out to people so that they can better acquaint themselves with not just county government, but all of the partners, and that's the important part. One thing, and I know that this probably will generate moans, but one thing that we like to do is say that we have real results from real teams in rapid time for the real world. It's a little bit like the 800-pound beast. Which would you rather have, or which would you rather be confronted with, an 800-pound gorilla or 800 one-pound squirrels? At times we have the 800 one-pound squirrels that we're dealing with. The real team, we feel, is the next step with the partnership to better manage and bring all of the partners together to make a healthier county environment for our businesses and industry in Lorain County. And I applaud everybody in their cooperation and efforts, and I believe Mr. Cortez would like the final comments.
Thank you, Ron. Commissioners, let me point out that you've seen most of the people that worked on developing the incumbent worker training. I'd like to also thank Peggy Mitchner from JVS, Terry Good from the Workforce Institute, and Jim Shanahan from Lorain Community College. There was a lot of players that came together, spent a lot of time working on this project for the betterment of the community. All I can say is that the Lorain County Growth Partnership is working. We're coming together. We're starting to see some outcomes. We're going to deliver more outcomes from you in the first quarter of next year. The risk that you have taken, the investment that you have made is well placed. You are pioneering new challenges for us, and we're going to deliver results for you. It's going to take time. I always said that the Lorain County Growth Partnership would take a year or two to mature. We need to continue to nurture it. We need to continue to make the relationships, and we need to continue to move forward. But Lorain County is real. It is really happening, and we're going to produce real results. And I thank you for your commitment to this and your ongoing support and your continued desire to improve this community. And with that, I'll open it up to the board for any questions. I'm hoping you have some significant thinking on how we're doing to date. Thank you.
I'll go. Too many things to comment on. Sort of when Jan spoke about growing pains, I guess they're good growing pains. We're going from like a very talented junior college basketball player to LeBron James when it comes to economic development in Ohio. We spoke about this when we were down in Columbus Commissioners meeting. People had heard about the County Growth Partnership. And it's very near and dear to me. Finding qualified help with the incumbent worker training, it makes private sector companies more competitive. Always finding help is tough. When you have good help, you want to make it available to them, become even better help for you. You can pay them more, they can provide better for their families, and hopefully stay with you longer. You want the long-term employee. They're more valuable to you. It's nice to see where the private and the public sector are working towards the betterment of the county. The team is a great team. You guys really put a lot of work into this. I've been talking about incumbent worker training for 3 or 4 years, knowing that Ohio was holding our money, and you guys were able to bring it together. Thank you very much. It's finally coming back up north. All the money that we've sent down south to Columbus is finally coming back north to us for our constituents, and it's folks like you, Bill Randall, JVS Jammer, Barsick, Ron Twining, Vivian Alexander, Jim Cortez, Marcia Ballinger, too many to mention, Roy Church, really working together on this, which has never been done before in Lorain County. So, I mean, this is probably the best thing since I've been in office that we've accomplished, and just keep working hard, and whatever you need, come see us. And I need my password so I can be a part of the real teams.
Can we trust you with the
Because I always have an opinion.
Can we trust you with the confidential information?
Without a doubt, sir.
If you can't trust him, who can you trust?
Well, I think that
This is county government.
I think that Commissioner Kalo has been taken to task a few times on confidential information. But, we'll definitely get the commissioner's passwords and access to the levels that they need.
Thank you.
Betty?
I have no comment. Thank you.
I think the biggest thing, I'm really excited about the growth partnership, and we have a lot of talented people in this room today that have been working on these types of issues for a long, long time, and I have all the respect for you, and I believe together we're going to do it, and we're going to bring more jobs, and we're going to retain more jobs, so I'm really excited about it. Communication is key, and I think Roy Church said it best. For a company coming to locate here in Lorain County, there's no wrong door for them to knock on. All the entities are in the same place, so thank you.
Again, thank you, Commissioners. That concludes our presentation. One last thought. We were actually able to come together and put this program together in less than, I want to say, 2.5 months. Anybody from the team want to? I think it was about 2.5 months, and the growth partnership and the collaboration that we're developing allowed us to do that very quickly. In the past, we've been so busy putting a program together, we lost the timing on it and have lost economics before. So if nothing else, we're being forced to work together and get things done. Thanks very much for your time and patience this morning, and that concludes our presentation.
Motion to adjourn. No?
Executive session.
Oh,
Sorry.
I make a
You can
motion.
adjourn.
Yeah, I make a motion we go into executive session as outlined by the administrator.
Second.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
5 minutes break.
Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Thursday mornings at 9:30 at the Lorain County Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and as always, you are invited to attend.
Unsightly litter is often the result of well-intentioned people like you and me being careless at the curb, around business areas, and at work sites. Lucky the Ladybug, Ohio's first lady of litter prevention, says nobody wants to live or work around trash. Litter lowers property values and it's costly to clean up.
Keep Lorain County beautiful. Put the lid on trash.
there. Here, have a treat, okay? No one can deny the loving devotion we get from our dogs, and I think we all agree we get back more love than we give them. I'm Dick Goddard. I'm reminding you, if you share your love with a dog, you'll never regret it. There's really nothing like a dog to spark up your life, whether you're a youngster, a senior citizen, or somewhere in between. And dogs have a whole lot of affection to share. Okay, is that good? You don't have to go far to hear heartwarming adoption stories.
With my husband is like saying man's best friend. He truly loves that dog. He feels it's part human. It's his second daughter, as Erica said. It's definitely a prize. She's queen of the house, basically. She's a good lover. She gives us a lot of attention. She's a good girl.
We had a cat before we had Abby, and Abby adapted very well. She is best friends with that cat. She will not harm that cat in any way. She's amazing. I love her. When I'm in bed at night, Abby will jump up with me and she will pull the covers back and she will lay under the covers and lay her head on the pillow just like a human.
I encourage anyone to go to the Lorain County Kennel to adopt a dog. It's given our family great satisfaction and a great reward.
After, a bad day at work or anytime you come home, it's just always nice. They kind of turn your mood around when you come in the door, and they wagging their tails and jumping on you, and it's a great feeling to know that they're happy to see you and that they love you just as much as you love them. She is good with our other dog. She's good with people. She likes attention, and she likes to cuddle up with you.
It's funny when Lily, when you kind of discipline her sometimes when she does something bad, or she always seems to roll on her back and put her paws in the air and just look up at you with this sad look. So it's kind of hard to even get mad at her when she does something like that. So we kind of laugh at that.
And it's always amusing when she does get a spurt of energy and want to run around, and we're always like, oh my gosh, Lily's going to play now.
Yeah,
so
like sometimes, like when I'm on the couch or whatever, and she'll hop down, and she always like tries to bite her own tail, and then that kind of like keys on our other dog, Rocky, to chime in and try to, bite at her tail a little bit, and then they start playing around a little bit.
One day we came home with some food from, I just really wanted a burger. So we had a burger, and I had it sitting on the tray table by the couch, and I got up for a minute and got a drink, came back, and Lily was licking her lips. She had eaten the whole thing, and I was not very happy with her. So I screamed and told Kurt to come down and get her away from me because I was just so upset. But we both lived, and I was fine afterwards. One of the best things about adopting a dog from the kennel, at least for us, was, again, just giving this dog, who knows what would have happened to her, a new life, and also giving our other dog a companion during the day. It's just fun to have the two dogs and take them for walks and watch them play, and it brought us closer as well.
It just makes you feel better as a person that, you're giving a dog a better chance to live a life.
Actually, I enjoy the exercise because I need to, trying to lose weight. Salem makes me get out of the house every day, and so I have to take him for a walk, even if I don't want to. And he's not that much trouble because he was pretty much housebroken when I got him from the pound. I really like the older pet because Salem was kind of, whoever had him before, they really kind of housebroken, so I didn't really have to go through the potty training deal. I just had to let him out and find a place for him to go. And I think older pets, especially for people who don't have children, are kind of good because Salem, he's real playful, but he's not. He gets tired and he lays down and he doesn't want to be bothered, and that's fine with me. So he's not always wanting to play, because puppies have a lot of energy. And Salem has quite a bit of energy, but sometimes he just lays on his pillow and he's like, don't bother me, I won't bother you. And sometimes when he wants to play, he wants to play, and that's okay. I got Salem at the Lorain County Dog Pound. I found him on the internet, actually. They had his picture on the internet, And so I called, and he was still there. And so I immediately went over and looked at him. We went outside and played, and he jumped in the car and wouldn't get out, and there we were. So we were on our way home. So it was love at first sight. He's a very good companion. I can always depend on him to be here and greet me with, open arms when I come in the door. He's very protective of me, and he lets me know when anyone is outside or in the driveway. So I feel safe with Salem. Even though he's a small dog, he gives me a safe feeling just in my own home. If I'm having a bad day sometimes and I'm just not in a real good mood, he'll come up and snuggle up to me like, "Hey, Mom, it's okay." I think other people should adopt a pet, and even an older dog. The Lorain County Pound has so many wonderful dogs. All you have to do is go over there and look. I mean, even now, I still go on the website and I tell Salem, "Don't you want a little brother or sister?" Because they have all these little cute dogs over there, and they all need good homes. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, I suggest you try the Lorain County Dog Pound first. I mean, you pay for the license and just a nominal fee, and you got a great dog and a great companion and somebody that's going to be in your life for the rest of your life and will love you no matter what.
Hello, my fellow commissioners and I are here at the Lorain County Dog Kennel on Hadaway Street, just south of Elyria City Discount, Value City. We invite you to stop out and see the facility here. We have lots of dogs available for adoption. We also encourage all dog owners to register your dog each year and get a dog license. That's your dog's ticket home in case it gets lost. It has a number and can easily be identified so that your dog can be returned to you in case he or she might take a little walk and you are unaware of it.
Along with the regular licensing that the county requires for all dogs, we also have a special dog license. It's a special heart medical care license tag for an additional $5. And the proceeds from that go to help us when we pick up a stray that's injured, hurt, or needs extreme medical care. It helps defer the cost for us. So next time you get your dog license, please pick up the special heart tag.
The Lorain County Commissioners would like to welcome you to come down to the Lorain County Dog Kennel. We also have a website that you can check out. Just click on Dogs to Adopt. There's plenty of dogs to choose from. It's like this little girl right here. This is Sadie. You can come down, make sure it's a good match for you, take the dog out, take it for a walk. But please, if you're thinking about adopting a dog, come out to the Lorain County Dog Kennel and see if there's a match for you.
Give the Lorain County Dog Kennel a call or check their website for photos of currently available dogs. Remember, your best friend is just waiting for you.